Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought which they seldom use. Prayer does not change God, but it changes him who prays. Our life always expresses the result of our dominant thoughts. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. The tyrant dies and his rule is over, the martyr dies and his rule begins. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but, if one will, are to be lived. God creates out of nothing. Wonderful, you say. Yes, to be sure, but he does what is still more wonderful. He makes saints out of sinners. What is a poet? An unhappy person who conceals profound anguish in his heart but whose lips are so formed that as sighs and cries pass over them they sound like beautiful music. People understand me so poorly that they don't even understand my complaint about them not understanding me. Most men pursue pleasure with such breathless haste that they hurry past it. Take away paradox from the thinker and you have a professor. Patience is necessary, and one cannot reap immediately where one has sown. Boredom is the root of all evil, the despairing refusal to be oneself. Marriage brings one into fatal connection with custom and tradition, and traditions and customs are like the wind and weather, altogether incalculable. The truth is a snare. You cannot have it, without being caught. You cannot have the truth in such a way that you catch it, but only in such a way that it catches you. How absurd men are! They never use the liberties they have, they demand those they do not have. They have freedom of thought, they demand freedom of speech. Since boredom advances and boredom is the root of all evil, no wonder, then, that the world goes backwards, that evil spreads. This can be traced back to the very beginning of the world. The gods were bored. Therefore they created human beings. Life has its own hidden forces which you can only discover by living. It belongs to the imperfection of everything human that man can only attain his desire by passing through its opposite. During the first period of a man's life, the greatest danger is not to take the risk. Personality is only ripe when a man has made the truth his own. There is nothing with which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming. The more a man can forget, the greater the number of metamorphoses which his life can undergo. The more he can remember, the more divine his life becomes. I feel as if I were a piece in a game of chess, when my opponent says of it, that piece cannot be moved. A man who is a physical being is always turned toward the outside, thinking that his happiness lies outside him, finally turns inward and discovers that the source is within him. It seems essential, in relationships and all tasks, that we concentrate only on what is most significant and important.